mirimo nkora nahuye n'abarwayi benshi ba COVID-19 harimo n'abitabye Imana. Birantangaza cyane kubona abantu badakurikiza amabwiriza yo kwirinda iki cyorezo kandi kimaze guhitana abantu benshi cyane ku isi barenga 600,000.
I feel like a soldier on the front line of a war, and the enemy is charging at us, and we don't know when they're going to hit us next. Our community can make a difference. We need to wake up.
Nos journées ne sont pas faciles, mais vous pouvez nous aider. Faites la différence. Respectez les mesures mises en place contre le coronavirus.
COVID-19 nta muti nta n'urukingo igira. Nyamara iyi ni indwara yica. Kwirinda nirwo rukingo rwayo.
Remember that this virus can turn deadly at any moment. It's your responsibility to make a difference by respecting all preventive measures against COVID-19.
Zirikana ko iyi virusi iri hafi cyane kurusha uko bitekereza.
I think that video deserves a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Remarkable Rwanda. I couldn't think of a better place to hold a summit like this, the first of its kind ever, virtual summit for the African Green Revolution Forum. Thank you so much for joining us. A lot of people are dialing in online as we speak. As I said, my colleague Femi Oke will be joining us from London very shortly. But in the meantime, Right Honorable Edward Ngirente, Prime Minister Rwanda, His Excellency Haile Mariam Desalegn, former Prime Minister Ethiopia and Chair of the AGRF Partners Group, Honorable Dr. Geraldine Mukeshimana, Minister of Agriculture and Animal Resources here in Rwanda, Dr. Agnes Kalibata, President of the AGRA, Honorable Ministers here present and watching online, Excellencies, Ambassadors and distinguished guests, members of the AGRF Partners Group, ladies and gentlemen, and all of you joining us today online. Welcome once again to Kigali, Rwanda. Now, why are we here? Again, please direct your attention to the screen in front of you.
Africa's cities and food markets are rapidly expanding. Urban areas now include more than 421 million people. This number is expected to reach 1 billion by 2040. We need significant transformations in our food systems to achieve Africa's goal laid out in the Malabo Declaration and the SDGs by 2030. How do we feed our cities with nutritious diets with an ever-growing number of consumers, diversity of incomes, diversity in diets, and therefore diversity in demand for food? This year's AGRF Virtual Summit 2020 has brought together thousands of those on the front lines working tirelessly to maintain and rebuild our food systems in the midst of a pandemic, locust invasions, climate change, and more. Heads of state, heads of government, ministers, business leaders, farmer organizations, development institutions, and implementing partners will focus on delivering on 4 key outcomes: resilience, investing in enterprises and innovations to build a more sustainable and inclusive future; nutritious food, creating demand for African products that fuel diverse and healthy diets with the safety and quality every consumer needs. Markets and trade. Building interconnected Africa markets that create opportunities right from rural to urban supermarkets. And lastly, but certainly not least, food systems. We will reimagine, redefine and rebuild the food systems Africa wants and be part of a multi-stakeholder vision for the continent and the world on the future of food. There has never been a time when innovation and collaboration is more needed. Now is the moment to build back better for life, for health, for livelihoods, for the climate, for the planet, for our shared prosperity. When Africa feeds its cities, it can feed the world and grow the continent.
Just to let you know, this event is being recorded, so by participating, you show your willingness to be recorded. Hashtags are as follows: at AGRF 2020, at Virtual Summit. And we're going to be broadcasting all week long. Now, the extraordinary crisis of the COVID-19 pandemic has deeply disrupted all plans, including those of the AGRF Summit. But the challenges of the crisis only emphasize our need to come together now more than ever before. We must protect the gains and we're making it in Africa's agriculture and food systems and push even harder for strong and more resilient systems in the years ahead. Now, we are thrilled the AGRF partners and the government of Rwanda has agreed that the summit should continue in a virtual format. We gather today under appropriate health and safety measures today, and for the sessions throughout the week, Rwanda is showing the way how we can safely open up for business, and agriculture and food systems are among the essential businesses we must keep improving. Now, this week's summit was just why, with this year's
bifurije ibihe byiza abakunzi babikora bite. Ni gahunda mutegurirwa n'inama y'igihugu ishinzwe ubumenyi n'ikorana buhanga. Uyu munsi muri gahunda yacu tugiye kuganira ku myuka iba mu kirere, imyuka bakunze kwita greenhouse gases. Iyi myuka tugenekereje mu Kinyarwanda tukaba twayita imyuka ndengerasi. Imyuka ndengerasi ni imyuka iba mu kirere ituma ibinyabuzima bituye isi bimenya kandi bikaryoherwa n'ubwiza bw'ubushyuhe ndetse n'ubukonje, byose mu kigero kiringaniye. Aha wakwibaza uti se ibi byo noneho bikora bite? Burya izuba iyo ryohereje imishwarara yaryo ku isi ntabwo itugeranaho ubukana bwose riba ryohereje. Hari ingufu z'ubumara izuba ryohereza zikumirwa n'akayunguruzo ka ozone ntizitugereho. Ibijyanye n'aka kayunguruzo ka ozone twabiganiriyeho muri bikora bite ku mihindagurikire y'ikirere. Gusa icyo dukwiye kwiyibutsa cy'ingenzi kuri aka kayunguruzo nuko gakumira imishwarara y'umumara izuba ryohereza, kakayisubiza hejuru, ariko kakareka imishwarara isigaye ikagera ku isi. Isi nayo irongera ikohereza ya mishwarara mu kirere ariko yakwedutse. Iyo mishwarara yakwedutse iyo igeze mu kirere hari aho itarenga kuko ihura na ya myuka
Your Excellency,
greenhouse gases.
and the chairman of AGRA and the AGRF partners, Honorable Minister Geraldine, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's my honor, I will remove my glasses so that I can see you better. Excuse me. It's my honor and privilege to be coming back here to Rwanda on behalf of AGRF and AGRF partners. We are having this AGRF at a very difficult time, as you might know. COVID has made it very difficult for all of us, but we've found ways. We decided that if there's one thing we are going to do this year, is to try to find ways of being resilient. In fact, today's theme is about resilience in all walks of life. So here, this year we said, we need to beat this. And the best way to beat it is to have an AGRF all the same. So we came here to Rwanda and we're having the AGRF, and we're extremely grateful to the government of Rwanda for accepting our challenge and taking on the AGRF with us, but also for putting such great measures in place, like you have. Just seeing so many people in one room and yet feeling so safe is unbelievable. Sometimes coming here in this country, you feel like you've come to a place where there's no COVID. I hope you feel the same, because immediately after all the check-ins, you just want to take a deep breath and say, okay, finally there's a place that there's no COVID. That's how we feel for many of us that come in from the other side. So I really then want to take an opportunity to thank Minister Geraldine, because we've walked this journey together, and Nelly from RCB. We got a lot of support from both of you and your teams, and we're extremely grateful for that support. And Your Excellency, I just wanted to recognize the support the government of Rwanda has given us coming this far. So we are extremely grateful, and we really hope that this is something that will continue. Now, why Rwanda? You would remember that last year in Ghana, we had a big ceremony where Rwanda was selected to be the host of the AGRF, at least for the next 5 years. Now, what this means is every year we have to find a country where we are going to host the AGRF. The AGRF is a continental forum, and every year we have to decide where we're going to host it. So we decided that we need to have a home and away model. A home and away model allows us some degree of predictability in the environment of doing an event like this. So we put out a competition there, and the government of Rwanda did win that competition, and we are proud to be here from a home and away perspective. So from now on, at least next 5 years, every other conference will be in Rwanda. The following year, we're going to another country. So I just wanted to say that I'm very proud. The government put its weight in this. I must say, Jeff, our next opportunity was Kenya, but we fixed time. So, yes. Now, AGRF, this far, the AGRF started in 2010 as a follow-up to AGRA. AGRA was launched in 2006 by the late Kofi Annan, former UN Secretary General, really saddened and feeling, I guess, leaving the UN system, feeling down about the fact that Africa was the only continent where productivity was still very low, where farmers were still struggling. So he got a few partners in a room, including the former president of Nigeria, Obasanjo, the former president of Ethiopia, Meles Zenawi, and a number of others. And they agreed to launch an institution that would have a continental perspective, and that's how AGRA was launched. And AGRA's work was really to focus on how to ensure that the things that other people take for granted, things like improved seed that are so important to farmers, things like fertilizers that are so important to farmers, and markets, that these would have a mechanism of defining how they work. He called it a uniquely African green revolution, because he understood very well that a number of places mistakes had already been made. This is not the place where you get to make a mistake. This is the place where you get to learn from other people's mistakes and design an African solution. So that's how AGRA was designed. Then we realized that to be able to bring the continent together, we needed a convening. So that's how AGRF was designed. And this year we celebrate 10 years of AGRF. And unfortunately, 2 years ago, just before he was able to come to the AGRF in Rwanda, Kofi Annan passed away, but again, we celebrate the opportunity he left behind for us, and the institution and the forum that we are celebrating today. This year's forum does two things. Besides overcoming COVID, or being here despite COVID, this year's forum focuses on feeding African cities. Because we do recognize the opportunity that African cities present, we as a continent are the fastest urbanizing continent, which is huge, but we do also recognize that there are challenges why we don't take advantage of the market. Many of those are lack of what experts call wholesale markets, or even when you go to the West, what you see as supermarkets, grocery stores and all that. Lack of those actually means that farmers don't have predictability of markets. The other thing that experts talked about was lack of competitiveness of the agricultural sector itself, but also lack of competitiveness of commodities. They also talked about food safety issues and how it is causing us to have major non-tariff barriers in our trade environment. And also many other things. So we saw this as an opportunity for us to come here and highlight the market opportunity. It's a $250 billion market. It's 5 times bigger than our export markets. It's a market that we must take advantage of. It's a market that we must, whose potential and opportunities we must recognize. Especially now, when COVID has shown that supply chains have major challenges, when COVID has shown that we look at probably short supply chain and how we can take advantage of those. Now, the way this year's AGRF is structured is also quite innovative. We start off in the morning recognizing fully well that we want to cover the whole globe at the same time. We start off in the morning with young people at 10 o'clock that come in and tell us what happened from the previous day and really find ways of exciting us. We go into what we call a culture track, and we in that culture track, we show many things from different parts of the world, especially, of course, from different parts of Africa. The part that excites me the most is the chefs. Today we had a chef from Senegal showing us to cook a 5-minute dish from Senegal. Tomorrow we'll probably have a chef from Rwanda, but also the cultural dances and the opportunities that our countries have to offer. So that's what we do in the morning. Then we follow that up with parallel sessions, recognizing very well that the virtual environment can be very intense and very difficult to manage sometimes. So we've reduced the number of engagements, but we do still have enough. So the first parallel sessions happen in the morning. In the afternoon, we have what we call policy symposiums. This is where we discuss critical issues. Right now, I'm coming from the conversation around feeding African cities and the findings of a major report that was just launched, the Africa Agricultural Status Report, which you will all have access to. So those kind of reports lead to decisions that we discuss and that we take into the presidential summit, which is happening on Friday. After the policy symposiums, we go into a plenary like this one. And after the plenary, we have what we call the red threads. Red threads are live discussions with His Excellency, Jeff Koinange here, so that we really get a group of people that really can energize us and keep us going. That part also recognizes that there are other parts of the world that are waking up. North America and other places, that's where they engage the most. After that, we have other forms of engagements, probably, including going home early, because we are living in a situation where we need to go home early. So this is really what the AGRF is about. In terms of days, today we focus on resilience, tomorrow we focus on nutrition, the following day we focus on Thursday, we focus on trade and the opportunities that is in there. The last day we focus on food systems. Now, as Jeff Koinange said, I'm the special envoy, the UN Secretary General Special Envoy for Food Systems. This is a perspective that recognizes that our food systems do have opportunities, but there's also present challenges. How we produce food is part of how we have climate change. So we need to start finding ways of doing it better. So on Friday, we will discuss how we can do food systems better, how we can produce food better, and we will ensure that all the things we've been discussing will culminate into a presidential forum and a presidential discussion in the afternoon on Friday in the plenary. All the plenaries are in the afternoon so that the rest of the world can participate. So again, welcome to AGRF 2020. Welcome to a hybrid AGRF model in Rwanda. This is what we call it. You here in the room and millions of people out there logging in their rooms. We've already had logins that are much bigger than the physical presence we've had in many places. Already we have had about 10,000 people now seeing what we are doing. In the past The most we were able to get in one event was 4,000 people when we were in Ghana last year. So again, welcome, and Your Excellency, welcome. Your Excellency is welcome, and we look forward to a great AGRF. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Kalibata. Looking forward to a great 4 days of action knowledge. Thank you so much. And by the way, Dr. Kalibata, I've blocked out my calendar for the next 5 years, okay? Just in case. Dr. Agnes Kalibata there. Give her a round of applause, please. As we do that, maybe we can change the mic and not waste too much time. Thank you very much. Up next, Dr. Geraldine Mukeshimana is the Minister of Agriculture and Livestock Resources here in the Republic of Rwanda. Now, prior to that, Dr. Mukeshimana worked at the International Livestock Research Institute, ILRI, and also at the National University here in Rwanda. She holds both a PhD and a master's in plant breeding genetics and biotechnical from Michigan State University, MSU. Dr. Geraldine Mukeshimana, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay, it's coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, Honorable Prime Minister of Rwanda, Your Excellency Mariam Desalegn, the Chair of AGRF Partner Group, Honorable Ministers present, and the CEO of RDB, Excellencies, Ambassadors, and members of Diplomatic Corps, Dr. Kalibata, the President of AGRA, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, physical and virtual, good afternoon. Let me start by extending a very warm welcome to our physical and virtual guests. Once again, we thank you so much for giving Rwanda a second chance after 1 year to be again your host. We are very happy, we are delighted, and we are honored. Of course, this year we are hosting majority of our guests virtually because of the restrictions that the COVID-19 pandemic has imposed on all of us globally. We keep being grateful to the frontline health professionals and the scientific communities that are working tirelessly to keep us safe, but also working hard to find a vaccine for this pandemic. I also want to take this opportunity, as mentioned before, to express my gratitude to the AGRF Partner Group to have selected Rwanda in September last year to be the forum's long-term home, at least for five years. This AGRF Summit is one of the key moments that is going to define, or that is defining already, Africa, but most importantly, the future of Africa. According to recent reports, including those of OECD, the pace of urbanization in Africa has changed significantly, and its urbanization rate continued to grow among the fastest in the world regions in the coming years. The current Africa city market, Agnes has mentioned it, it represents 250 billion USD per year. This AGRF theme of today or this week, Feeding the Cities, grow the continent. Leveraging urban food markets to achieve sustainable food system in Africa, it speaks to all of us. Feeding the cities is increasingly becoming a fundamental question, but some people like me, we barely take time to think about it. I remember last year when we were shaping up the theme of this year, I was hesitant to accept it. Then the people went, and then COVID came in, then they came up again, and then they told me this is the topic, and I just shut up. So I'm really glad that they managed to push me away. So the reason of that is once you keep working in this area, you become paranoid. And someone like me, I am all the time scared that there wouldn't be enough food for everyone in every single day. And I never think of the cities. I just think of Rwandans, rural and cities, all included. So, I have learned that when you think of a human life, it becomes equal to food. So, this concept of feeding cities, I think it's shaping everyone, because 10,000 years ago, the food started creating communities and cities in the Fertile Crescent, where the early people decided to settle and produce their food. Since then, cities have continued to be shaped by food for their stability and growth. For cities, sufficient food has to be produced, and for this, urban agriculture is just a tiny part of the equation, as opposed to what majority of us think. It has to be transported, it has to be cooked, it has to be eaten, and sometimes it has to be disposed of. We know that currently there is so much food that is wasted. So I guess the mayor and the people who coordinate cities, they know how much all of this circle producing and getting food to the table requires an enormous amount of planning and coordination. My hope is that this summit is taking place in the middle of the COVID-19, in the context where the hunger on the continent was already rising, will come up with implementable tools for us to sustainably feed our continent. So, to our guests, those are physical and virtual. I also, once again, want to take this time and welcome you to Rwanda this whole week. Even being virtual, you are in Rwanda. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Geraldine Mukeshimana. And congratulations, by the way, for being voted top position in the Africa Union Agriculture Transformation Scorecard Biannual Review. Rwanda, #1. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome our next guest. He is His Excellency Haile Mariam Desalegn, the board chair of the Alliance for Green Revolution in Africa and the Africa Green Revolution Forum Partners Group. Many of you are aware he is a former Prime Minister of Ethiopia from 2012 to 2018. He also previously served as Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs under Prime Minister Meles Zenawi, and was chairperson of the African Union and Dean of the Water Technical Institute. Ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency, Haile Mariam Desalegn.
Thank you very much, moderator. Right Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Minister, dear colleagues attending this session, both physically and virtually. This year, we celebrate the 10th year anniversary of AGRF. It has been an exciting journey since we met for the first time in 2010 in Ghana under the theme Investing in African Agriculture. The AGRF serves as the world's premier forum for advancing Africa's agricultural agenda, and at the turn of this 10th anniversary, the forum is committed to taking its agenda and impacts several notches higher. With 5 years left to achieve the vision and goals laid out in the Malabo Declaration, and 10 years left to achieve the Sustainable Development Goal, AGRF recognizes that it must drive a more international agenda with more partners. Because all of you can understand that we are only left with 5 years to achieve zero hunger in Africa as per the Malabo Declaration. But can we do that? And even the 10 years, when AGRF comes as 20 years anniversary, we have to make poverty, extreme poverty, eradicated from this globe. But can we do that? I think we have to read efforts in making this. So this partnership is a very important platform in so doing. Through AGRF's year-round programs and annual AGRF summit, the forum will use its full weight, resources, and partnerships to energize political will and drive the actions required to overcome the major challenge affecting the agricultural sector. With the right policies, programs, and investments, the AGRF community and the stakeholders can grow Africa from the ground up to ensure this Africa's century, driving agricultural transformation at the heart of economic transformation. Mr. Prime Minister, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, since the first AGRF was held in Ghana in 2010, under the leadership of His Excellency President John Atta Mills, the forum has annually brought together heads of state, ministers, business leaders, development partner leadership, thought leaders, both from intellectual, academic, and research communities, farmer organization representatives, youth entrepreneurs, and other critical stakeholders to focus on the policies and actions needed to move the continental agenda forward. The forum was hosted by heads of state in Tanzania in 2012, Mozambique in 2013, Ethiopia in 2014, Zambia in 2015, Kenya in 2016, Ivory Coast in 2017, Rwanda in 2018, and Ghana in 2019. As my president said, maybe Kenya next time, in next year, in 2021. I think these countries who are doubling hosting AGRF are those who are performing the best in Africa. Now, this is the second time in Rwanda. We did in Ghana the second time. And those who aspire to do that, I hope will take this advantage. The AGRF Partners Group, an alliance of partners that care about, commit to, and invest in Africa's agricultural transformation, is made up of a coalition of 23 leading actors in African agriculture. all of them focused on putting smallholder farmers at the center of the continent's growing economies. I would like to name all of them because it is important that everyone knows these partners. These include African Development Bank, AFDB, African Fertilizer and Agribusiness Partnership, AFAP, Alliance for a Green Revolution, my organization, AGRA, African Union, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, CGAIR, Corteva AgriScience, Technical Center for Agriculture and Rural Cooperation, CTA, Department for International Development UK, DFID, Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, FAO, IDH, the Sustainable Trade Initiative, Grow Africa, a Center of Excellence of the African Union Development Agency, AUDA, NEPAD, International Development Research Center, IDRC, International Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD, MasterCard Foundation, OCP Africa Group, Rockefeller Foundation, Southern African Confederation of Agricultural Unions, Sinengeta, UPL, USAID, and Yara International ASA. The AGRF Secretariat is hosted by AGRA on behalf of the partners, and itself an African-led institution that works in 18 countries across the continent, including Rwanda, focused on putting farmers, smallholder farmers, at the center of the continent's growing economies. I am honored and privileged to chair the AGRA board and serve as chair of the AGRF Partners Group. Your Excellencies, this is my first year in the process of AGRF Summit as board chair. However, I am not a newcomer. As former Prime Minister, my country had the honor of hosting the AGRF Summit in Ethiopia back in 2014 under the topic Beyond the Tipping Point, a new vision and the strategies of inclusive and sustainable transformation. As Dr. Kalibata mentioned, one of the outcomes of this year's summit focuses on resilience, the ability to bounce back better after a shock. Ethiopia is a living example of the importance of investing in agriculture. The drought-induced famine in the mid-1980s took the lives of 1.2 million Ethiopians and left 200,000 children orphaned. But we have worked hard since then. We have bounced back better, and Ethiopia is now experiencing rapid economic growth and significant poverty reduction. There is still much work to be done, but we are moving in the right direction. Resilience is important in all African countries. Our food systems continue to be exposed to multiple shocks and stresses. 15 years ago, the desert locust plague caused $2.5 billion in crop damage, and this year, in February, the locust swarms have re-emerged, causing significant damage as well. The fall armyworm is stressing our food systems. Left unattended, these worms can threaten the food security of more than 300 million Africans. Another stressor is climate change. Drought and flooding, both extreme, is becoming more and more common. It increases food insecurity and creates high food prices. And this year, South Africa's maize production was down 40% compared to the previous 5 years because of the 2015-16 El Nino-induced drought. The cyclone Idol displaced 2.2 million people last year, and caused unprecedented infrastructure damage in Mozambique, Malawi, and Zimbabwe. Despite significant economic growth in Africa, as many as half of Africans, that is 676 million people, live in a moderate food insecurity where they do not have enough to eat at certain meals and occasionally go hungry. Paradoxically, obesity is rising, and when the pressing issue of health care comes, these are problems of nutrition, and we have to take care of them. Add to that the impacts of climate change and COVID-19 now, and food systems have been thoroughly challenged. It is therefore important that we work together to create resilient food systems that will enable us to absorb shocks and bounce back better. We can do that. As Africa, we feel so strongly about this. CADIP and the Malabo declarations are testimony to our commitment to agriculture, because we know that agriculture is indeed the surest path to inclusive economic growth, jobs creation, and dealing with many challenges around climate change, migration, and beyond. Evidence from around the world attests to this. No region, I repeat this, no region has built a modern economy without first strengthening the agricultural sector. This is true of both ancient economies and in modern times. In order to achieve our aspirations laid out in SDGs and Africa Agenda 2063, we must first and foremost achieve our agricultural goals and targets. We must ensure we drive agricultural transformation at the heart of our economic transformation. Few countries on the continent have demonstrated this, as well as Rwanda, which seems once again set to be recognized by the African Union as the country most on track with desired progress in the agricultural sector. A big applause to Rwanda. I am so glad that resilience is a key outcome for AGRF 2020. We need to invest in enterprises and innovations to build a more sustainable and inclusive future. Right Honorable Prime Minister, Ministers, distinguished guests, AGRF is a mammoth undertaking. I am humbled by the commitment of our partners, and I would like to thank each and every one of them for their selfless contributions in the form of financial and material resources. We are delighted to partner with the government of Rwanda to advance this vision with many other African countries and our regions and stakeholders across the continent, so we might achieve our collective vision. As a former Prime Minister, I know it takes a strong Ministry of Agriculture, and Minister, thank you for your coordination to see that our forum is as successful as it is now. And as well as it requires a whole government approach and set of partners to achieve impact at scale. This is why I am pleased to see the Right Honorable Prime Minister here with us this afternoon. While acknowledging the presence of our Right Honorable Prime Minister, however, before I hand over to His Excellency the Prime Minister, let me take a moment to acknowledge the unwavering support we have received as AGRF partners from His Excellency the President of Rwanda, President Paul Kagame. To recap, it was during his tenure as chairperson of the African Union that he promoted the monumental African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA. It is during his tenure that Rwanda has been ranked number 1 in the African Union CAADP biannual review, and it is during his tenure that Rwanda has been crowned the home of the AGRF. Congratulations, and on behalf of AGRF partners, we salute your resolve to deliver on Africa's commitment in partnership with AGRF, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
And thank you, His Excellency Hailemariam Desalegn. It's all about partnerships, like you said, and AGRF's 26 partners are all committed to Africa's agriculture and fulfilling AGRA's objectives. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, allow me now to call upon our fourth and final guest with his opening remarks here and officially welcoming you to Kigali and Rwanda. Now, the Right Honorable Edward Ngirente has been the Prime Minister of Rwanda since 2017. Before that, he held senior advisory positions at the World Bank and also here at the Rwandan Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the Prime Minister of the Republic of Rwanda. Those online don't have to wait, rise, but those here. Welcome, Prime Minister.
Good afternoon. Your Excellency Hailemariam, former Prime Minister of the Federal Republic of Ethiopia and the Chair of the AGRA Board and AGRF Partners Group, Dr. Agnes Kalibata, President of AGRA, and Special Envoy to the 2021 UN Food Systems Summit, Honorable Ministers and Cabinet members, members of the Diplomatic Corps, development partners, distinguished participants following the AGRF 2020 Summit online. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this 10th edition of the African Green Revolution Summit. This summit is being held in a hybrid model because of the challenging times of COVID-19. I wish to start by recognizing the importance of this year's theme, as well as the 2020 African Agriculture Status Report focusing on feeding Africa's cities. This year's forum is timely and as it discusses key policies and strategies to link our farmers with the growing urban food market.
ukora mu nzego z'ubuzima,
uri urubyiruko,
uri umuhinzi,
uri umucuruzi,
uri umunyamakuru,
uri umushoferi,
uri umwogoshi,
uri umuhanzi,
uri umumotari,
ukora amasuku nkanjye,
ukora mu nzego z'ibanze,
uri umubyeyi,
uri umunyarwenya,
uri umurezi,
uri umufana wa Kinatrop,
uri umukozi muri banki,
uri umufundi,
uri umusiporutifu,
uri umukanishi,
waba uri umukinnyi wa filime,
ukora mu nzego z'umutekano,
uri umuganga,
ukunda umupira w'amaguru,
ambara neza bakora.
kigaragaza umuturage ubayeho neza cya mbere ni amafaranga. Iyo ufite amafaranga ubaho
kilograms per hectare. It is imperative for African countries to increase the application of fertilizers in order to achieve sustained agricultural growth. There is a growing need to improve agricultural infrastructure in Africa. For example, building rural feeder roads will enable market access for rural small producers. Transport system should be streamlined to facilitate urban-rural linkage. This will increase rural farmers' income and make it possible for the urban consumers to get food at affordable prices. Intra-Africa food trade is also still low compared to other regions. African countries need to increase the value of trade in agriculture by creating conducive environment for cross-border trade. This will support the continent to achieve the target of tripling intra-Africa trade in agricultural commodities and services by the year 2025. Africa's population stands now at 1.2 billion people, and over 60% are below age of 25. This young African population is a key factor to turn around the agriculture sector in Africa. However, African youth do not consider agriculture as a profitable opportunity for their livelihood. We therefore need to keep on de-risking this sector so as to attract young people, especially by leveraging digital tools for agricultural transformation. Our continent is still facing a huge challenge of post-harvest losses. The total quantitative food loss in sub-Saharan Africa is estimated at 100 million metric tons per year, and this is huge. It is now imperative that we increase investment to improve and expand post-harvest handling facilities and technologies. This will reduce losses along all production and supply chains. Distinguished guests, 2 decades ago, Rwanda defined an inclusive development vision of where we wanted to be in the year 2020. To date, we have a new 30-year development strategy for the period up to 2050. In all these long-term development frameworks, rural and urban linkages through integrated development plan have been developed. They will also continue to be an integral part of the country development agenda. This year, the government of Rwanda revised its national land use master plan along with the city of Kigali master plan 2050, which was launched on the 4th of September 2020, a few days ago. These tools were set to guide Rwanda to achieve inclusive development in a broader context. Specifically, 47.2% of the country's surface land has been or will be allocated to agriculture and livestock. By implementing these tools and plans, Rwanda shall continue to focus on the following key points. One is increasing agricultural production and build a well-functioning rural sector which will support the whole value chain. For this, we are increasing investment in research and innovations. This will generate and disseminate new technologies to boost the overall agricultural production. Likewise, Rwanda is implementing policies to ensure that we have a well-functioning markets. This is being done by strengthening institutions governing land acquisition and use. We are also investing in post-harvest management and evaluation facilities, as well as in rural applications. Distinguished guests, I wish to thank once again the HRF Partners Group for selecting Rwanda as the long-term home for HRF in the next 5 years. Rwanda is committed to partner with you in the achievement of AGRF strategic vision. It is on this note that I would like to end my remarks and officially declare the 2020 edition of African Green Revolution Summit open. I thank you so much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you very much for declaring this summit officially open. Thank you. And thank you for reminding us of the 4 critical outcomes of this summit, which are resilience, nutritious food, markets and trade, and food systems. Now, as has been said, this and subsequent sessions today, Tuesday the 8th of September 2020, will take a deep dive into issues of resilience in line with our overall theme, feed the cities, grow the continent, leveraging urban food markets to achieve sustainable food systems. As Prime Minister Hailemariam Desalegn said earlier, none of this would be possible without our partners here, partners who are committed and who care towards the transformation of this continent. Let's not forget the Foreign Commonwealth Development Office, the FCDO, and new partners like Bayer AG and IKEA Foundation. Now, join us as we take this conversation global with the rest of our plenary session and hear more about resilience, bouncing back better post-COVID-19, and building a more sustainable and inclusive future. To lead us to this conversation, I turn to my colleague in London live, Femi Oke. But first, please take a look at this brief video. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, in this digital era, there are hashtags we'd like you to quote. Hashtag AGRF 2020, hashtag Virtual Summit. Remember the theme for this year, feed the cities, grow the continent. We're going to be doing this every single day between now and Friday, so please join in. All of you online, please continue to join in as we now get ready to go live to London. My colleague, Femi Oke, is about to be on to continue this opening series. Every single day between now. About to be on to continue this opening series. Every single day between now. Get there. Get there.
Secretary responsible for industrialization, trade and enterprise development from the Republic of Kenya. I've had this job now for just the past 6 months, and before that I worked as the Principal Secretary.
Iyo ufite amafaranga ubaho neza, kandi ikindi cya kabiri niyo ufite akazi nabwo ubaho neza. Muri iki gihe nta kuntu ushobora kubaho neza nta kazi ufite, nta mafaranga ufite.
Kuri njyewe ko mbitekereza ibiranga umuturage ubayeho neza nta kindi ni ukuba ari mu gihugu gifite umutekano, gifite amahoro kandi abasha no kugira icyo yikorera akiteza imbere muri rusange.
Akamaro ka mituweli ni kanini cyane. Anjye w'umunyarwanda iyo nishyuye mituweli agomba nyishyuye kuri njyewe njyenyine gusa. Banyishyuye kugira ngo n'undi wari we wese niba njye nabashiye kuyivurizaho, hari undi ushobora kugenda akayivurizaho, ariko ayivurizaho nawe ayifite. Ariko ya mafaranga natanze ya mituweli ago babivuze yuko njye ugomba kwivurizaho gusa. N'abandi agenda akayivurizaho, twese akatugirira umumaro.
Mituweli uko njye nyibona ni ingirakamaro cyane ku muturage, by'umwihariko umuturage nyarwanda, kubera ko mituweli dufasha mu bwisungane. Ni cya kintu uhura n'impanuka runaka cyangwa se n'ikibazo runaka mu rugo, umwana yarwaye cyangwa nawe urarwaye, ukaba wakwihutira kwa muganga, ukajya kwa muganga bakakuvura nta mbogamizi ibayeho.